Hello, everybody. Good evening. Happy Valentine's Day. Hope you had a good day with your loved ones. Today, I'm going to be talking about our discussion question that we had. I'll go ahead and just read it quickly. Summarize the history of legislation related to persons with disabilities in the U.S. Be sure to clearly state the relationship between various pieces of legislation and the impact each had upon the population of persons with disabilities in the U.S. and upon the U.S. societal attitudes and treatment of persons with disabilities. How does the historical evolution of legislation currently impact global mandates legislation about attitudes toward and treatment of persons with disabilities today? So basically, reading throughout the post, and also I saw some other videos already posted. We all basically agree how everything started back then. Back in even before the 1800s and throughout the 1800s, the world, the U.S., the whole world was not an ideal place for people with disabilities. These individuals were very much mistreated, discriminated, institutionalized by their parents, by everybody, thinking that they were crazy, and they were called quote unquote feeble-minded. So you can see that back then the world wasn't a great place, for people with disabilities. Also, there were many unfair and discriminatory regulations, even present in the U.S., like the Immigration Act of 1882, which prohibited the entry into the U.S. for people with mental illnesses or being unable to care for themselves. And then add to that, um, they became more strict and prohibited the entrance to anyone that had a physical limitation. So imagine the world back then. When we started noticing a change, as written in the books and everything, was around World War One, when our veterans started coming back home from the war, wounded, with many types of disabilities because of bombs going off, being shot, gases, all these sort of dangerous things affecting them. So in 1916, the National Defense Act provided an opportunity for the soldiers to receive instruction, to receive the help, to help them, return back to civilian life, to facilitate, having them back into their normal civilian lives. So you can see there, for the first time ever, and legislation wise, the U.S. recognized its obligation, to help these individuals injured in their service for their country. And then from there on, the ball started to roll. After that, you also had the Smith-Hughes Act of 1917, which established the federal state program in vocational education. Um, and then in 1918, the Smith-Sears Veterans Rehabilitation Act, or also known as the Soldiers Rehabilitation Act, expanded the role of the Federal Board of Vocational Education to provide the services of VR for veterans disabled during World War One. Also, through that positive change, they were more focused on our veterans, and then all of a sudden they also started to focus on civilians. So from there on, they passed the Smith-Fest Act of 1920, and then in 1935, the Social Security Act came into play. And the Social Security Act established an income for those individuals unable to work. After 1935, that's when I can say that the legislations became more specific towards certain disabilities. And one of those acts that I work with more would be the Randolph-Shepard Act, which was spoke more towards the blind population. They were impacted in a very positive way because this act recognized that persons that were blind had vocational potential, that they had the abilities and the skills, to be successful. So as you can see, the U.S. slowly but surely, started to recognize all these individuals with disabilities, and the U.S., having the impact that it does, of course, also the world started to move towards that as well. Nowadays, you also have, the recently in the 1990s, the Americans with Disabilities Act, or the ADA for short, now guarantees, the equal rights of person with disabilities in employment wise, government services, public accommodations. So there's been a very much positive change from back then to now. I don't want to say that it's perfect because I do know that there's still discrimination going on, and I believe that it's up to us as counselors to advocate for our consumers, for our clients. I'm currently a VR counselor with Daughters with Division for Blind Services, and I talk to my consumers about this. I talk to them that it is also up to them to, to let people know, make them aware of their rights, of what is going on, and also to educate them, because if we don't educate these individuals, then who will? So I believe it's also up to us and to the consumers, to our clients, to be part of this change, to be part of this positive change. And again, so that in the future, whatever issues still remain, hopefully by then, they will be gone. And what I have seen is that many other countries also follow suit, and if they don't know something, they're not aware what is going on, they're not gonna ask. So again, I reiterate that it's up to us to also participate in this, to help make people aware of the rights of individuals with disabilities. So basically, that was my little summary. And in regards to everything that I read, as I can see, we were all in my group. We were all on the same page, so that's good. So that is basically it. Hope you have a nice evening, and hope to hear from you guys soon in our next post. Bye bye.